जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी, जय राधा माधव जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन, यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी, जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी, जय श्री राधा रामचंद्र की, श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की, श्री श्री गौर निताय की, श्रीनिवास वेंकटेश्वर बालाजी की, समवेत भक्त वृंद की, कलियुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी। ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So Ram Navami is approaching very close, so I thought I'll speak something from Ramayana. So you all don't tell anybody, but you can guess in your mind who are the two brothers, three brothers, and four brothers from Ramayana. And later on you can check whether your guess is a correct guess. Huh? I spoke it in Hindi just a few days ago in Camp Temple, but today we shall speak in English today. Who are the two brothers? Actually, Ramayana is so wonderful. It is so many lessons to learn for our everyday life. If only we will implement the Ramayana teachings in our daily life, we would be living very happy lives even in this world itself. Because Ramayana teaches how to be a perfect human being. Lord Rama is called Maryada Purushottam. He came to teach the life how to be a best brother, elder brother, how to be the best son, how to be the best husband, how to be the best king, and how to be the best master for so many different type of servants like Sugriva and you know and Vibhishana and Hanuman, and how to be the best king for the praja. You see, when Lord does anything, He is the best in everything. Correct, no? When he becomes a disciple of Sandipani Muni, he becomes the best disciple. So, in the same manner, you find Vali, and we will go to 2-3 different sections of Ramayana today. Vali and Sugriva, they both were brothers, and you want to know how strong Vali was. Then you have to go to Ramayana. You will see. One time, Ravana had heard about the strength of Vali, and he wanted to see for himself. So he left Lanka and came to Kishkinda Kshetra. There, uh, seeing this huge body of Vali, Ravana thought, I should not allow any such enemy to flourish in this world because later on he may become a thorn for me. So it's best for me to finish him today. But I won't go in front of him. Rather, I will go behind him, catch hold of his tail and whirl him to death. Beat his head to the ground. I'll kill him. That was whose plan? Ravana's plan. So when he went behind and tried to catch Vali's tail, immediately Vali, put his tail around his body and caught him. Caught him and just kept there. He thought some mosquito is scratching. He thought like that. And then Vali every day used to go to Chardham Yatra, we say, no? Out of Chardham, he used to go to 3 dhams. For what? For doing Gayatri 3 times a day. Morning, Pratakal, Madhyanika and Sayam. So 3 Gayatris he would do in 3 dhams, simply by flying. And from morning to evening, he kept him in the tail only. He didn't even see who it was. And evening when he came back, then he wanted to see what was the scratching thing. He just brought it to the tail to the front and saw it was Ravana. He thought, who is this 10-headed creature? So then he tied a rope to him, and in the cradle where Angada was sleeping as a small baby, he hanged him down like a toy. And Ravana was flying like this, going like this, both sides. You can just imagine how mighty Vali must have been. Correct, no? This is Vali. So, at that time, there was nobody as powerful as him in the entire planet. He was like that. But why am I telling you all this about Vali? You will know, no matter how powerful we may be, if we are unwilling to listen to others, and if we are going to be judgmental about others, no matter how powerful you can be, at the end of the day, we can be losers because of that. You will see how he made a judgment without understanding. So, actually, Vali and Sugriva, they were good brothers. Sugriva is the younger one, Vali is the elder one. And there were 2 demons. One is called Dundubi and one is called Maya. Dundubi was in the form of a bull or something. He finished the Dundubi Asura. But Maya was another very powerful demon. So that demon once was having a big fight with Vali. And they both fought and fought and fought and entered into a cave. Huh? So, and Sugriva was waiting outside and he heard a loud noise, ah, like that. So he thought, who has died? Vali has died. That's what he thought. So he thought next the demon will come out and kill me. So he plugged the hole of the cave with a stone and fled from there. And then he cried to all the ministers, this is what happened, then everything. And they said, after a few days, they said, better you be the king for us. Your brother is dead and gone now. So you help us. So Sugriva reluctantly accepted because there's no one to rule the kingdom. Somebody has to bell the cat. So he accepted that. In the meantime, Vali, actually the one who screamed was not Vali. Who was it? Maya demon. So he had finished Maya demon. Then Vali saw that my brother, out of Rajya Sukhalobh, greed for the kingly position, I think he has put a stone to see me die inside the cave. Like that he judged his brother. And with great might, he ran behind and ran forward and hit the stone and removed the stone from the entrance. And then when he walked out straight to the palace, to make his imagination true, Sugriva was sitting on the throne, and all ministers were all attending to him. Seeing that, Vali really got wild because he thought what I thought might have happened has actually happened. So he ran dashing towards Sugriva to kill him on the spot. Sugriva actually was requesting him, brother, please listen to me. I will tell you exactly what happened. But he was not willing to listen. He said, I will hear after I kill you, not now. But after killing, how can one speak? That was what was Vali. And Sugriva had to run. One joke you read in Ramayana. What is the joke? When Lord Rama had to find out where is Sita, Sugriva helped Ram to tell Ram that, where all we can send our Vanaras. And he was telling about every nook and corner of the universe. He knew everything in the universe. So Ram asked, how are you so good in geography? You know every nook and corner of the universe. Sugriva said, that's because these are the places where I ran. To escape from Bali. And Bali didn't leave me anywhere. He said, there is not one place in the universe which we both don't know. I have ran everywhere, he said. At last somebody told him that if you go to Rishimukha Parvat, there is one Rishi there. When this Dundubi was killed, and the whole baggage of bones and the body of Dundubi was thrown just outside his ashram. And the sage became very annoyed that my ashram is a clean, pure place. I have put gobar and cleaned it. And you have put this dirty stuff of the animal. Who did that? And whoever did that, if he comes to this area, he will die on the spot. Like that the Muni had cursed. So who cannot come there? Vali cannot come there. So knowing this fact, Sugriva ran to that Rishimukha Parvat and took shelter there. And Vali couldn't enter there. Therefore, his life was spared. So, as you see in the picture here, see Vali hitting his brother, judging without listening first. That's the first mistake he did. So, we all have how many ears? 2 years. How many mouths? So, from there, what do you learn? Hear more and speak less. That means listen first before you speak. But although we have 2 ears, we are more eager to speak first and not to listen to others. And that's why we create problems. Even if 2 devotees have problems, they don't talk to each other. They talk about each other. Correct, no? They go and tell 10 devotees, he will go and tell 10 devotees. And they all will be confused and everybody will be talking everywhere. So instead, basically, be willing to listen. One of the two should speak, other one should listen. Then other should speak, this should listen. Therefore it is said, listen in such a way that others will speak up. Or speak in such a way that others will listen. It is said. So both are important. Both require maturity. Because if you listen well, others will be confident to speak. They will not feel, hesitation to speak. In the same manner, if you have heard them well, then if you give some suggestions, then others will also hear. They will also be willing to hear. So unfortunately, we are best lawyers for ourselves, but best judge for others. For example, some people say, hey, Look at this fellow, he sleeps like Kumbhakarna. Huh? In the daytime, he's sleeping for so long. But tomorrow you will find that fellow who is committing this fellow as Kumbhakarna, he himself will be sleeping. And you ask him, Prabhuji, what about you? Prabhuji, night I got half an hour late to sleep. Therefore, I'm taking day rest now. They have nice names for this. Isn't it? Similarly, if somebody is eating a little more, you will say, hey, you're eating like Bhima. Correct? No? What about when he eats more? He will say, Prabhuji, don't you see my body is thin, I'm putting up weight now. So, generally, when we talk about deficiencies of others, we should give a benefit of doubt to people. So, the second problem here is mentioned here. Say, I am always right syndrome. Who thought I am always right? Wali. So, one mistake Wali did was that he misjudged his brother. See, in Bombay, there is one senior brahmachari. He was going with junior brahmachari to one base in Bombay. So it happened to be Ekadashi day. So that younger devotee was telling me, Prabhuji, today is Ekadashi day. It'll be nice if you go to base and we make nice carrot halwa and offer to the Lord there. And then he said, no, by the time we reach, it will be 7:45 or so. We can just go, get ready and go to rest. He said, Prabhu, if you permit me half an hour, I will cook. He said. Prabhu said, okay. So then he cooked. So this senior Prabhuji was thinking that I think he is fond of eating carrot halwa. That's why this fellow wants to make. And then so that he can offer to Lord and then he can eat. Thinking like that. So this devotee made it and he served all the boys. It was Ekadashi night. And many boys had chanted more rounds that day. So they're very happy to eat carrot halwa. And then the senior devotee asked, Prabhu, did you take? He asked. He said, no, Prabhu, I didn't take. Today I'm doing Nirjal. Ekadashi was saying. So senior was shocked. My Lord, I thought this fellow is making carrot halwa only to eat himself. Far from eating himself, he is eager to cook and offer bhoga to Lord and serve the Vaishnavas. He has a high class attitude. But I have suspected and doubted a person with high class attitude. So that has become offensive. So senior devotee was lamenting. So I misjudged him. So we all judge people. Correct, no? The judging should be given up. Therefore we commit mental offenses. Like one time my doctor had told me I had ulcer in the mouth. So he told me take a small drone of ghee in the morning and put it on over the ulcer, he said. 3 times a day. So morning I was putting, one boy came and peeped through the window. So he just saw me taking ghee. And he was thinking, Prabhuji is taking from ghee bottle, ghee. So afternoon 1 o'clock came to meet me, again I was taking. And evening 6 o'clock came, again I was taking. So this boy went and told everybody, hey, Radheshapu, din bhar ghee pite rehte hain. He keeps drinking ghee all day. Am I drinking all day? And that too I am prescribed by the doctor. So what did he do? He was judging. Correct, just by seeing. So we have a tendency to judge others. Later on I called the boy and told him the truth. So he immediately offered obeisances, Ashtanga Pranam. Sorry Prabhu, I offended you and everything. I said, anyway, you are not aware. If you are not aware, what you should do? Ask. Rather than go around. And also if you drink ghee all day, what will happen to you? Can you be a normal person, isn't it? So we tend to judge people. So therefore, we may not be aware of the situation. Or sometimes somebody may be externally doing something, but his intentions may not be bad sometimes. For example, once devotee had a severe back pain problem. So he told his senior brahmachari, Prabhuji, I have back pain, I can't offer obeisances to devotees. Doctor has told me not to bend for 3 months. And senior would say, no problem, you just do like this, devotees. That is enough. So when this devotee came, morning his friends offered him Anchakalpa. And he was doing like this. And all the friends were surprised. Hey, he behaves like Maharaj. He's just doing like this. He's not returning us obeisances. We are giving him one obeisance, but he's not returning back. They were offended. And then 2 fellows became very, very upset. They started talking among themselves. And then they saw 2 days later when that brahmachari was coming to the boys. Everybody fell on the ground and offered obeisances. This fellow was standing and doing like this. Now it became too much for them. So they went and told the brahmachari, Prabhuji, we should throw this fellow out. He has no etiquette. He has become too proud now. Then brahmachari said, what are you guys talking? I only told him not to offer obeisances. He has a back pain. He's, oh, really, Prabhu, we are not aware. Oh, now we have committed offense unknowingly. And they immediately went and gave him one son babdi from Vrindavan. Prabhuji, we are very sorry. Forgive our offenses. So, why I am saying we have a tendency to judge people. So that fellow is not offering obeisances, but there is a reason behind it, which you and I may not know sometimes. Why somebody is doing what he is doing, we may not be able to know. Sometimes people actually externally behave in a certain way, but their intention may not be bad. One day in Vrindavan, I was walking in Yatra time on the main road, where the Krishna Balaram temple is there. We were walking towards Fogla Ashram, walking. So a lot of devotees got down from the buses, 1,000 devotees practically walking towards the Fogla Ashram. We were all going. So I was casually walking with another devotee and talking. So somehow one devotee was on the other side of the road. He came running, crossing the road, and he just pushed me like this. He pushed me with his two hands, forcefully he pushed me, and he ran away. Now, I thought he went crazy. And I practically fell on the ground and toppled. I'm wondering why he behaved like this towards me. Then I dusted my body and I got up and I saw one cow was running very fast from this side to straight. And the cow actually had her horns exactly behind my back. So this devotee was on the other side of the road. He saw the cow running, coming. All the other people who had got down from the buses, they all went to the side of the road, knowing that the cow has become afraid of the crowd. She was coming running. And I was not aware. I was coolly joking with devotee and talking and going. So this fellow saw me. He came running across the road and he pushed me to the other side and he also went to the other side. So now the cow ran between both of us. So when I got up, then afterward the devotee came running to me and offering obeisances. He was practically catching my feet. I said, get up, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I offended you very badly. I pushed you. I'm very sorry. I said, if you didn't push me, then both hands will be inside. And they'll come from this side. I don't know how many months I'll be in hospital, whether I'll be alive or dead, I don't know. Right now. So here somebody else is immediately taking a video. Hey, this Prabhuji pushed Radheshyam Prabhu down. हमने video बनाया है. Even if you send it virally, what people will think, this fellow is pushing, maybe they both had some fight or something. Correct? But can people know the intention? Therefore, without knowing the intention of other people, don't judge. That is another lesson we learn. So judging is a very bad quality because you don't know their intention. You don't know what is the context in which a person is behaving in a certain way, isn't it? So, and this type of second point on I am always right syndrome is also a very arrogant type of syndrome. It is. It's not a very good thing. Actually, we should always think I can be wrong. I may commit mistake. If somebody tells us that, Prabhuji, I have some feedback to give you, but who are you to give feedback? Huh? What do you know about me? People, even before hearing only, people say like that. Then how can I give the feedback? Isn't it? So you should say, okay, Prabhuji, please tell me how can I improve? Please tell me. Because everybody thinks I am best in my own area of service and who can give what suggestions. Actually, every department should be open to suggestions. Kitchen department should be willing to listen. Similarly, the cleaning department, every department. Similarly, the preachers, the managers, we should be very open. I don't know whether you are aware, in the big companies like Motorola and Honda company and all, they have once in a year a day when people can write feedbacks about the company running and stick it all over the company. They are allowed to. That is called constructive discontent. Constructive discontent means people can express some healthy inputs which can make the company better. Similar managers should not be. Sometimes you tell the manager that, Prabhuji, people are saying that the attendance is not properly kept, or people are saying that the bhoga is not put to the Lord on time. What is the first question people ask as soon as they hear the complaint? A complaint आया है कि, the morning, go and tell the manager. What is the first question people will ask? Who told that? Is it a good question? Actually, who told that is not a very important question. You have to check whether it's really true. If it is true, then how can we improve? Why people generally ask who told that? Then you can shoot back. You told me. Who are you to tell that you have these problems? You are saying I have this problem. I will tell you told one problem in me. I will tell you 10 problems in you. Is that a good attitude? Not a good attitude. So therefore, we have to give up this I am always right syndrome. Somebody is telling you, Prabhuji, you are a little bit dozing in the chanting today. If somebody says, how do you know I was sleeping? I was meditating on one verse in Bhagavatam. You can say, correct, no? Or I was, so many things you can say, correct, no? Because if a person thinks I am always right, then he cannot change. Can he change? Cannot change. But I could be wrong. Yes, I also have weaknesses. I have shortcomings. Uh, Others, if they give me some inputs, I am willing to listen. They are all my well-wishers. Uh, so let me take help from others. That is the right attitude. Yeah. And therefore, this kind of syndrome, I am always right, comes from pride. Um, Like, for example, if I think I am a Brahman, I come from a Brahman family, I am already very, very pure, and I have come to Krishna consciousness so that I can deliver the whole world. If this kind of attitude we have, if we go to preach, will anybody take us seriously? We should think actually, what kind of Brahman was I? I may be born in a Brahman family, but I was wearing a 25 paisa thread. Huh? And I didn't know any of the qualities of a Brahman, any of the culture of Brahman, any knowledge of Brahman, nothing. I was simply like a two-legged animal. But Vaishnava somehow, you know, came in my life and taught me Bhagavad Gita. Now, through this Vaishnava culture, I am really learning how to be a true Brahman. And it's all only by mercy of Guru and Vaishnavas what I am today. And I have received this good fortune, and I will share this good fortune with others. That's correct consciousness. Correct, no? On the other hand, if somebody is very proud, I am Brahman, I already knew, for 9 chapter, 15 chapter, 12 chapter shlokas by heart. I can, any shloka, beginning you tell, I can tell the shloka immediately. So that type of proud attitude is not very good. So those who are proud always think, I am always right. I can never be wrong. I can never commit mistake. So that was Vali's problem. He was thinking like that. He was not willing to listen only to Sugriva. So after that, Rama had told Sugriva, okay, when you two brothers fight, I will kill your brother, don't worry, because he has stolen your wife, Ruma, and he's very atrocious, he's trying to kill you. So I will protect. So they both were fighting, as you see in the picture. And Rama was standing behind the tree and not killing Vali at all. And Sugriva was surprised. अरे बड़ा बड़ा बात किया कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं अभी हम इतना मार खा रहे हैं I am getting so much beating, part. Every limb of my body is paining. And right here is Ram behind the tree, and he's not taking any action. Again, Sugriva had to run for his life again. Again, he went back to Rishimaka Parvat again. And when Ram and Lakshman came back in the evening, Sugriva looked at them and said, oh, dear friend Ram, now I understood. I heard you are very famous for truthfulness. लेकिन इतना बड़ा बात क्या आपने you told me, you saved me, you never saved me. I would have died in his hands today. I barely saved my life. Enough is enough. Now I have decided not to fight with that fellow. Then Ram said, no, Sugri, wait a minute. Listen to me what I am saying. When I looked at both of you, you look like twins. You look the same. I didn't know whom to kill. By mistake, if I send the arrow on you, you will die, Vali will survive, isn't it? Therefore, I didn't take any action. I am sorry. You again give a call for a fight, but this time go with a garland. So I will know whoever is wearing garland, I will not kill. The other fellow I will kill. So within immediately next day, Sugriva went out at the palace and said, "Hey, Vali, come out! If you have guts, fight with me." And immediately Vali said, "Hey, how this fellow came back? Yesterday I bet him so solidly. Again he's come back. Somebody is supporting him." Like that he was thinking. Isn't it? The very next day. So So now this time, because Sugriva was wearing garland, Lord Ram could hit Vali. And hmm. So this is about the I am always right syndrome. Stupid people always claim that I am always right. I can never be wrong. Hmm. Yeah, and sometimes actually they may falsely argue also. I am always right, but then when you prove to them it is wrong, they will have ego problem. Hmm. But wise people means always listen to advice. Therefore, it is said it takes courage to stand up and speak, and also sit down and hear. Hmm. Sometimes in an assembly, you may stand up and speak very boldly and claim that this is the thing we should all do and everything. Similarly, we should be willing to sit and listen also to others who may want to express their opinions. Huh? So, Vali was only ready to speak up, he was not willing to listen. Yeah. This is the third one, you see. Accept. Accept means admit. Hmm? Apologize and amend. That's what Vali did. Hmm? That is glory of Vali. Till now, I have been telling you the bad qualities of Vali. Now we have to also glorify Vali. What is the glorification? Vali actually, when Vali saw the arrow piercing his chest, immediately pulled out the arrow and saw whose arrow it is. The signature was there, Rama. And he was surprised. You know, he said, of course, he says in Tamil, "Eidavan irukka ambai novanen." Why should I criticize this arrow which pierced my chest while the center of the arrow is right here? And then Lord Rama was coming towards him. Hmm. At that time, Vali challenged Ram and asked him a question. Oh, personified truth, I have heard your glories of your character all these years, but I never thought you will act in this mean minded way by hiding behind a bush and hitting me with an arrow. How dare, being a Kshatriya, how dare you could do such a thing? Like that he asked a question. Then Lord Rama spoke up. He said, you see, a Kshatriya can hide behind a bush and hit the animals in the forest while capturing them or hitting them. So you tell me, are you an animal or a evolved human? If you say you are a monkey, you are an animal, then my hitting you from behind the bush is justified. But now, because you are speaking about dharma, what is dharma and what is not, then who are you? You are like a human. You have a human type of intelligence you have. Hmm. Therefore, if you say that you are asking about principles of dharma, let me ask you a question. If you are living a life of dharma, then how can you take away, kidnap another man's wife? Uh, So anyone who kidnaps another man's wife is as good as a two-legged animal, and he deserves to be killed from a bush, like that Lord Ram said. So as soon as Vali heard that, he immediately became enlightened, and he admitted his mistake. He said, "I agree with you, Ram. Not only that, you are Avatara Purush. You have come in this world for teaching the jivas like me the right lesson. I accept whatever you said is true. Uh, I'll be living my life very soon. Let me die seeking forgiveness from you, and forgiveness from Sugriva for beating him so badly." So he was courageous enough to apologize for his mistake. Uh, Vali also apologized to Sugriva. He looked towards Sugriva and said, "I'm sorry. Whatever I did to you, my dear brother, you are a younger brother. The elder brother should be like a father for the younger brother. He should be protective, not beat him up like this so badly. So I bet you, without understanding the truth, now I came to know from others that you had no intention to usurp my kingdom, you know, but I misunderstood you, I misjudged you. Therefore, I bet you I'm sorry." So he admitted his mistake, and he also sought apologies. And then he had one necklace, the king's royal necklace in his neck, which naturally any father would take it and give it to his son. He is supposed to give to Angada and make him the next king, isn't it? But instead, what he did, he gave that necklace to Sugriva, saying that you be the king next to me. Hmm. So he didn't make his son the king. That goes to show that he amended his mistake by making Sugriva the king next to him. This is a beautiful gesture on the part of Vali. He was not envious of our Sugriva, isn't it? So it's amazing, no? So in our life also we can learn. Actually, admitting our mistake is itself a very big step. Lord will be very pleased with us if we admit our mistakes and we apologize and we amend it by making the right adjustment, whatever is to be done. Mm. Yeah, yeah. So this is a lesson. Avoid fault finding and fault imagining. Who imagined fault? Wali imagined fault. Therefore, he found fault unnecessarily. So that was about two brothers. Now, who are the three brothers? Ravan, Vibhishan, Kumbhakarna. Of course, they have one sister also, but brothers are only three in this family, correct? No? So all these three fellows went for performing meditation to Lord Brahma. And after that meditation, when Brahma appeared, they all asked for different boons. Hmm. So Ravana said, "Let me become extremely powerful and let me create terror in the hearts of all other fellows in this world. Let me be able to, win over all territories and become extremely mighty." Hmm. So he asked for power and wealth and be able to rule for many long years. So he was blessed with that. And Vibhishan, when Brahma asked him, "What do you want?" He said, "Even in troubled times, let me not, uh, you know, walk away from the path of Dharma. Even in troubled times, also let me always walk the path of Dharma, walk the right path. Even if I become wealthy or I become endangered, let me never give up Dharma." That was desire of Vibhishan. See what a noble person he is. And Kumbhakarna, when he was about to ask a boon, all demigods in the sky were literally crying. They were afraid. They said, "This fellow is a very mighty fellow. If he gets boons, already he is creating trouble. He will create very big trouble." So they all prayed to Saraswati, do something for this fellow. So this fellow wanted to, he told Brahma, "I want nirdevatvam." Nirdevatvam means I want the earth, I want this whole world to be rid of devatas. That means he wanted to destroy all 33 crore devatas. And he wanted to be supreme. Nirdevatvam. But by Saraswati twisting his tongue, he asked for nidratvam. Huh? Nidratvam means sleep, long sleep like that. No. Similarly, then I told that after the Nirdetvam, he wanted to ask, and then after that, let me acquire Indrasana. That's what he wanted to ask. So again, Saraswati twisted his tongue and said, Nidrasana, he said. Huh? So let me be Nidrasana always. So in this way, he got Nidrasana and Nidratvam, benediction from Brahma. Therefore, he would always sleep for 6 months, and when he would get up, he would catch bunches of people and eat them. Very, very powerful fellow. This is our Kumbhakarna. And what did Ravana do? As soon as he got his tapobalam and power and everything, what did he do? He, at that time, do you know who was ruling? The Kuber. Kuber was ruling Lanka. He told Kuber, "It is better for you to vacate this place and go, or else you have to die at my hands." Although Kuber was his cousin brother. Uh, Kuber was very intelligent. He went to Lord Brahma and asked what I should do. Should I fight with him or should I leave this place? And his father, Vishravana, father told him that you go to north. You go near Himalayas. Lord Shiva is your friend. You can rule that place. You will get a place to rule there. You go there. Don't fight with this fellow. So he vacated the place and this fellow smoothly encroached the whole place. That's the mentality of Ravana. You can see that. Very unreasonable exploiter. Ravana. Now, these three brothers, they took two paths. Let us see what are those two paths. See, Ravana had moral crisis. Hmm. Actually, he was wondering, should I kidnap Sita or should I not kidnap Sita? That was his question in mind. So one is moral and other one is immoral. Actually, first he went to, what is his name? Our Maricha. Hmm. As soon as he went, Maricha was sitting as a tapasvi. Hey, what is this? Sound is not coming. Will come, yeah. Maricha, Maricha was in the forest doing meditation. When Ravana came, it'll come back. Yeah. When Ravana went to meet him to request him to help him to get Sita, Maricha said, "Hey Ravana, whoever told you to go for attacking Rama and getting Sita, he is your greatest enemy." He said, "You don't know who Rama is." He said, Maricha said, "Myself and my two friends, we assumed the form of um, uh, deers, antelopes. You know antelope? Uh, we became antelopes, carnivorous stags. Carnivorous means my mouth would emanate fire. And I would look like a deer externally, but I was carnivorous. I would go to the area where Brahmanas would be doing yajna and all, like a deer. They will think I'm a deer. Suddenly, I will pounce on them and capture them and tear them to pieces and eat their flesh and drink their blood. Huh? And I have killed many, many Brahmanas like this. And he said, but then Brahmanas brought Rama to the forest. As soon as Rama saw me from a distance with three of us, immediately, if you know, recognizing our pretentious nature, he sent arrows. So my two friends died on the spot, but I fled from there. Uh, So, of course, Lord Rama's arrow has a policy of not chasing behind a running fellow. So therefore, Lord Rama's arrow, went back into his quiver. I turned my back and I ran. Therefore, I was saved. Otherwise, I would have been killed on the spot like my other two friends. Not only that, Ramaban actually took me 800 miles, in the interior of the ocean. I mean, inside the ocean, and then it left me. And with great difficulty, I returned back to the shores. Uh, so he said, after I saw that the power of Ram, he said, any shabda that starts with Ratha, if he say Ratha, I become afraid. Because starting with what letter? Ra, yeah. Anybody says anything starting with Ra, my body trembles. So I decided in my life, I will not endeavor for any more exploitative activities. I'll become a tapasvi and go to forest and just sit and do meditation. And he said, Lord Rama's army, Vanada's army, it is like a vast ocean, he said. And Rama's arms, his bows are like a whirlpool. Lord Rama's this shoulder, they are like whirlpools in the ocean. And when he sends the arrows, they are like the waves of the ocean. Hmm. He said, he's so mighty. So nobody can fathom him. And he said, are you not aware? In Janastan, two big Rakshasas, Chanur and Mushtik, along with 14,000 Rakshasas, Lord Rama single-handedly killed them. Hmm. So nobody else was required. He told Lakshman to guard Sita. You safeguard Sita, and then Rama alone killed all of them. So Maricha said, never even think of, you know, trying to go to Ram and meddle with him. Let Ram be with his wife Sita peacefully in Panchavati, and you be with your wife Mandodari peacefully in Lanka. And after hearing this, Ravana went back. Amazing, no? He got a very good Sadupadesh. And he heard it and he went back peacefully. But then Shurpanaka saw that my brother is not taking any action. And I want this Ram, and I will uh, produce lust in his heart by telling about the beauty of Sita. Then he told him about the beauty of Sita. After hearing the Sita's beauty, when the seeds of lust were aroused in the heart of Ravana, again he went to Maricha and said, hey Maricha, this time I have not come to hear any Upadesh from you. Either you obey me or I'll kill you, he said. So then Maricha agreed to become the deer, as you all know, second time. So here is a moral crisis in the life of Ravana. Such moral crisis can come in any of our lives also. Um, Imagine, for example, tomorrow you graduate from the college, you are living in some city as a paying guest. The lady of the house comes and cries to you, "My husband is beating me." Huh? So she actually wants to be saved from her husband's beating and cruel treatment, and she has nobody to complain. She comes from a very simple family. Huh? Although she is taking shelter of you like a father. Huh? Sometimes a man looking at her beauty and thinking that, oh, she is taking my shelter, so I will enjoy with her. Huh? People have done like that in the past. So here is an example of moral crisis. One should never mistreat another man's wife. Huh? One should deal with every woman as a mother. Matravat paradareshu. Here Ravana also is supposed to treat Sita like his daughter. Huh? He's aged enough to be like father of Sita, but he's exploiting her. Huh? So therefore, we all get moral crisis in our life. Like tomorrow, one of you may get a job in McDonald's, huh? And if you want to go and work there, I mean, then you have to see your principles. As a devotee, you are following certain principles. And if you are going to join an organization that is not aligned with these principles, then if there is a moral crisis for you, correct? No, moral or immoral, which path to follow? So Ravana got a moral crisis like this. So which path he took? Immoral path he took. Now, but his other two brothers, they didn't have moral crisis. They had ethical crisis. What is that? Like, to side with the brother or not side with the brother Ravana. Hmm? That was their question. Like Kumbhakarna actually told Ravan that what you're doing is not proper, brother. It's not proper. She is Jagat Janani. That's the word he uses. Huh? She's Jagat Janani means mother of the whole universe, Sita. And you are bringing her here with the desire to exploit her and enjoy her. This is no good for you. And then he said, but because you are not in a mood to take my advice, I am ready to fight the battle for you. But if I die, at least you should get buddhi, sadbuddhi. As soon as if I die in the battle, you should hand over Sita back to Ram and tell Ram, I am very, very sorry. All the while I have been keeping Sita with me. Now you please forgive me. Don't kill me, and he will not kill you. Ram is very compassionate. Like that, who said? Kumbhakarna. He gave good advice to brother, but he could not leave him because of attachment, metal attachment. That was his problem. Uh, so he thought that there are three shastras: Artha Shastra, Dharma Shastra, and Paro Dharma Shastra. So Ravana was seeing everything from the point of view of Artha Shastra. What profits are there for me? Same like Duryodhana. For Duryodhana, wipe out the Pandavas, and I will rule over the whole world. I will not even give even a piece of land that can be contained in the tip of a needle. So like that, who said? Duryodhana. And Yudhishthir Maharaj, what he said? Look at us. We are just like hungry dogs fighting for a piece of meat. Ridiculous. What kind of brothers are we? Let Duryodhana take over the whole world and rule it. And just give us 5 villages to rule. We would be happy with that. Who said that? Yudhishthir Maharaj. So you can see that, Duryodhana is talking from Artha Shastra point of view. Money and wealth and land and property. And Yudhishthir is talking from Dharma Shastra. Anyway, he's our brother only. Cousin brother. Let us not fight with him. But Krishna told Arjuna, I will talk from Paro Dharma Shastra, which is even beyond Dharma Shastra also. See, in Dharma Shastra, it says that if your brother is doing a mistake, you forgive him and you tolerate him. Correct, no? One time in India, one brother and sister, the brother was cheating the sister in property division because the father had passed away. So the sister became very angry. She repeatedly told him, hey, don't cheat me. Just because I am a woman, don't think I don't know. I also have my advocates and all who are advising me. We should equally divide. He was cheating her. He was taking 75% and he was only giving his sister 25%. Then she went to court and she put him behind the bars. She put him behind the bars in the jail and he had to pay her a heavy fine and give her half property. After 6 months, when he came out of the jail, he became so angry with his sister. 5 years he didn't speak to her. But after 5 years, sister told you, see, you also think what you did to me. So in this world, sometimes even relatives can turn against us. Correct or not? It can happen in this world. We are living in a world like that. But somebody may say that although he is my brother or she is my sister, in the family, अगर वो नीति के अनुसार भी नहीं चलते हो, फिर भी adjust करके चलो चलो, हाँ? Go ahead, because after all they are brother or sister. We don't want to go to court and fight. It's a family thing. So that is the Dharmashastra. Dharmashastra means that's what our Arjuna said. Yadi mama pratikaram ashastram shastrapanayah dharta rashtran rane hanyus tanme kshemataram bhavet. He's telling, my dear Krishna, unarmed, I am ready to go in the battlefield and stand in front of Duryodhana. Let him kill me on the spot. That would be much, much more better, Arjuna said, than to kill all my cousins and brothers and everybody and then rule over the worldly kingdom tainted with blood. I don't want that, he said. So this is also again, Arjuna is putting principle before pleasure, whereas Duryodhana is putting pleasure before principle. See the difference, you can see that. So one is, Duryodhana is from Arthashastra point of view saying, Arjuna is saying from Dharmashastra. But Krishna said Paro Dharmashastra, which means he said only Yudhishthira should rule the world, not the Kauravas. Because Kauravas actually, even in the presence of 5 husbands and 4 or 5 Kuru elders, this sinful wretch, Duryodhana, is disrobing Draupadi in the public, in the presence of 5 husbands. Can you imagine? Yatha Raja, Tata Praja. Then all the Praja also will be bringing one woman and disrobing them. We should not allow such a king to rule. Rather, Yudhishthira Maharaj should rule. Even in the battle, all these fellows die. If all their wives become widows, still Yudhishthira Maharaj will take care of the widows as if he's taking care of his own mothers. Like that he will take care. Therefore, he should rule, Krishna said. So therefore, Krishna taught Paro Dharma Shastra, surrendering to Supreme Lord's will for establishing Dharma. So, Kumbhakarna did not know Paro Dharma. He only knew Dharma. He knew that his brother is wrong. But he was not aware of transcendental platform. Therefore, he sided with his brother and he died in the battle. Whereas Vibhishan, he was aware of Parodharma Shastra, so he surrendered to Ram. Actually, you will see, Ravana reaps the consequence of his moral blunder and mortal blunder. Therefore, Ravana was finished. Kumbhakarna did an ethical blunder. For him, duty to brother is greater than duty to God. Just see. Actually, brother means, for how many lifetimes Ravana will be brother? One lifetime, that's all. Next time somebody else, another jiva will be your brother. But how foolish it is. But duty to God is for how many lifetimes? For eternity. So he didn't make the right choice due to sentimental attachment. Correct, no? So Vibhishan was such a noble soul. He knew very well, if I go to Ram's army, some monkeys may kill me on the spot also. He was ready to take life risk in surrendering to Lord Rama. Just see. Ram and Lakshman and Vanaras, they all accepted him afterwards. So duty to God is greater than duty to sinful brother. That was his understanding. So that's what he followed. So they've been sacrificing Krishna for worldly morality. Like Kumbhakarna and Karna. Karna and Kumbhakarna, both Karnas. They both, Karna for his friend Duryodhana and Kumbhakarna for his brother Ravana, they sacrificed Lord Krishna. Correct, no? Foolishly. But sacrificing worldly morality for Krishna's sake. You see, Bharat, which Bharat? Rama and Bharat. He was ready to sacrifice Mother Kaikeyi for the sake of Ram. Prahlad Maharaj sacrificed his father, Hiranyakashipu. Vibhishan sacrificed his older brother Ravana. Bali Maharaj understood Shukracharya is cheating him, not teaching him the right thing. He sacrificed him. And the gopis, all the gopis were all eternal associates of Krishna. Although the gopis were at home with the husband and father, father-in-law, mother-in-law, everybody, the bodies of the gopis were at home, Prabhupada says. But the spirits of the gopis were not at home. It was like a dead body only. The Atma had gone to dance with Krishna, the spiritual dance. Prabhupada says that in the Krishna book, he says. So you will see that these people actually are examples of those who knew Paro Dharma. Surrender to Krishna. Shri Ramam Dasharathatmajam Aprameyyam Sitapatim Raghukulan Mayaratnadipam Ajanubahu Aravindadalayataaksham Nishachara Vinashakaram Namami. That's a glorification of Lord Ram. So this is four brothers. You all know who are the four brothers: Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrugna. So Ram, Lakshman is one jodi, and Bharat, Shatrugna is another jodi. When Bharat wanted to go out of station, Shatrugna had already packed his luggage and put in the chariot ready already. They were so close. Bharat can never think of going anywhere without Shatrugna. Similarly, Ram also, whenever Vishwamitra came to the court and called for Ram, when Ram was called by Dasharatha, immediately who will come with him? Lakshman will come with him. These four brothers are very, very glorious brothers. Yeah. See, emotions are beautiful, but they should inspire us towards dharma and not away from dharma. So this is Bharata meeting his brother Ram. Very amazing brothers, because you can see Bharat is telling Ram, you rule the kingdom. And Ram is telling Bharat, you rule the kingdom. What kind of brothers you see? Very rare brothers, isn't it? Generally, people are all selfish and greedy for owning something. But these brothers actually are ideal brothers, you find. And in fact, Bharat told Ram, if you don't come and take up the Ayodhya, see here, all three widowed mothers have come. And Vasishta ji has come. And they are all requesting you to take up the kingdom again. If you don't come, I will sit facing the north and quit my life, quit my body. And Ram said, what is so great about giving up the body in this world? Body, everybody has to give up the body one day. But if you follow my order and please me, that is a real love. Then Bharat agreed. You see, Bharat is taking Ram's Paduka, and he went back not to Ayodhya but to Nandigram, kept the Paduka on the Simhasan. Every day offered flowers to it. He held an umbrella over it. He bowed down to that Paduka every day and fanned the Paduka. One day the Paduka spoke to Bharat. You know that? I went to this place, Nandigram, also, 3-4 years ago. There you find Bharat and Ram embracing. That's a deity, like that. That's the only temple where I've seen deities embracing each other. Generally deities stand on their own places, correct, no? But here you find Bharat and Ram embracing. So the Paduka spoke to Bharat and said, hey Bharat, I am lamenting very badly, he said. Bharat asked, why are you lamenting? I am lamenting because I lost my brother. Why are you lamenting? He said, you have separated me from my master's service. I would have been walking in the jungle, as his footwear. But now I am very comfortably here. My master is walking in the forest. So you have separated me from his service, so I am lamenting, he said. Bharat said, I am very sorry, because if you didn't come here, I won't be able to maintain my life. And therefore I brought you, because you are serving Ram always. And the footwear said, I have even more greater lamentation. He said, what is it? I am supposed to be on the ground to serve my master, but you have put me on a very big elevated asana and you are offering me flowers and you are offering worship every day. I am ashamed, he said. So in this way you will find in Lord Rama's Leela, everybody is in a mood of seva. Very wonderful brothers. So these four brothers are extraordinary brothers. If you read many, many pastimes, I am not saying much. We have run out of time. But the four brothers are very, very close. And we can talk a lot about Lakshman's relationship with Ram also. There are many, many pastimes. You see, when Bharat one day was standing in Ayodhya, that is the time Hanuman went to bring the Mandara Parvat, no? When Hanuman brought Mandara Parvat and flying in the sky, Seeing that, Bharat thought it's some demon, such a huge demon carrying a mountain, and he was flying over Ayodhya. He thought he is going to do something with Ayodhya. Immediately he sent an arrow, and that arrow brought Hanuman down to the ground, along with the mountain. So when Hanuman fainted unconscious, falling to the ground, Jai Shri Ram! Like that he shouted and he fell in the ground. And immediately Bharat ran to the spot where Hanuman landed. And because he called the Lord's names, he understood he is not he's not inimical to Ram, he's favorable to Ram. Immediately Hanuman woke up, and Hanuman told everything. And when Bharat heard it, yeah, that Lakshman's life is in danger, before next day sun rises, if the Sanjivani medicine doesn't reach Lanka, then Lakshman cannot be saved, doctor had told. Now it is already well over midnight. He has to reach in a very short time there. And Bharat told Hanuman immediately, you already are a very strong fellow, very powerful devotee, but I will assist you. He said he took an arrow and he told Hanuman to sit on the arrow. Now you may wonder how Hanuman can sit in the arrow, but Hanuman has Ashtasiddhi, Ashtas, he can become light. He sat on the arrow. And he also said, both of them said, Jai Shri Ram. Like that he sent the arrow. So then the arrow took him within a very short time to Lanka. So in this way, Bharat said, instead of bringing you down from your service to Ram, I will assist you in your service to Ram. So there are many, many pastimes like this, which you read in Ramayana, very nectarian pastimes. So the four brothers, Shatrughna also, he killed Lavanasura on the order of Ram in Madhuvan. That's a place called Madhuvan. But Shatrughna's main role is assisting Bharat. Many, many occasions you will see that. He was the one who caught hold of Mantra and brought in front of, and he told, brother, if you give me order right now, I will kill her on the spot. Bharat said, what are you talking? A woman can never be killed. Even if she commits blunders, she doesn't deserve to be punished and killed like this. So then he bet her on her Kubdi, and Kubdi was straightened up after that. Shatrughna. So Shatrughna, actually understanding the anger of Bharat, he acted exactly to fulfill the desire of Bharat. So these are four brothers. So who are the two brothers? And who are the three brothers? Yeah. And four brothers? Yeah. Thank you. And all of you devotees, you are all becoming devotees. You may not face much moral, immoral challenge, but you may face ethical. Because sometimes people who are very dear friends to you or dear relatives, if they are on the adharmic side and you want to be on the God side. Like one boy was telling me recently in his home, he has come to 16 rounds now and he doesn't want to eat onion and garlic, So he has kept in the altar Radha Krishna picture. He has kept. Parents allowed him to keep, no problem. They have kept. But he wants to offer to Radha Krishna food without. But he's telling his parents, they say, demigods ke liye chalta hai sab kuch. And they are offering demigods bhoga with onion garlic. So he was very sad. So I told him, you separately talk to your mother. Don't create a big scene. You tell your mother to keep some sabji separate without onion garlic. That you can offer to Radha Krishna, I told him. So sometimes we may face some challenges in our life. We may love them also at the same time. In case somebody is going against Krishna consciousness, we can't side with them. You have to be like Vibhishan or like Kumbhakarna. Yeah. The choice is yours. If you become like Kumbhakarna, then we may side with temporary relationships in this world. Eventually, they will die, we will die, and the Atma goes to the next body, then you have new relatives in the next life. Whereas if you behave like a Vibhishan, then you connect with the Lord for all time to come. Correct, no? Eternal relationship. Hanuman told Ram when he went to Lanka, he saw in Vibhishan's palace was the only place where he heard the holy name. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Continuously this mantra chant was going on. So he saw that, he said, nowhere else I found like that. So Vibhishan was a Rama Bhakta. So one day Ravana heard this news that Rama is my enemy and this fellow is chanting Rama's name and let me go to his house and see. So he came to his house, and all the four walls he had written Ram, 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 Ram. Everywhere big letters Ram name was written. Like Vrindavan you find Radhe Radhe, you find like that. So Ravana became angry. Hey, he said, how did you write the name Ram? Then of course Ram gave him good intelligence. He said, oh brother, the Rama means what? Ravan and Mandodari. He said, that's what Rama have written. Then Ravana made one policy and ordered the entire Lanka should be written Ram Ram all over. In everybody's walls, everybody's house, everywhere. So this is a trick of Vibhishan. In spreading the holy name of Ram everywhere. So, therefore Vibhishan is the most intelligent devotee. You see? Yeah, where is it? Yeah. Any questions? One question? Yeah. Yeah, one mic is coming just now.
One person on the basis of moral identity. Sometimes,
Like this you can.
sometimes we live in voice.
Like this you keep it. Like near it.
Sometimes we live in.
He is searching.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, sometimes we live in voice and sometimes we sleep and our leg is toward this side of wall there is a photo of our deity and sometimes in some room that every wall is filled with a deity and we feel some tension in our mind that our leg is toward that what to do we can and that photo are not hang on the wall they are stick with Fevicol or something and
On the
we
wall?
cannot remove it.
They may fall also, huh?
No, fall no. Our leg is toward the deity.
Right. Actually, no need to feel that you're. See, we are like a baby only in front of the Lord. Just like if a baby is showing the feet to the mother, is there any problem? No problem. And actually, Lord is there in every direction also. If you read the Shastra also, there is no place where He is not present. Sarvata Panipadam Tat Sarvato Akshishiromukam. But in temple, we have a policy. Why? In order to develop consciousness of not misbehaving in front of the deities. Therefore, we have policy. Otherwise, in general, like for example, in Hyderabad temple, Prabhupada is sitting like in Vrindavan temple, the side. So first we offer obedience to Prabhupada, then when we offer obedience to the deities, we are showing back to, feet to Prabhupada also. But Prabhupada will not mind because we are not showing him with the intention of offending him. Correct, no? That's not our intention. So therefore, it's not a problem. And also putting the pictures on the walls actually keeps us very Krishna conscious. Correct, no? Otherwise, it will be a plain wall. If you see some pictures, they charm our heart. It's called Uddipan, we call it. Uddipan means it creates some kind of spiritual positive energy, sensation. When we see those pictures, Krishna and covered boys, Krishna and friends, isn't it? So, in case you are feeling very uneasy, you can tell the devotees to put Krishna picture a little above on the wall so that it will not be right in front of your feet. You can put it little above. Correct, no? All right? Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Shubh Prabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Guruji, Janat Pranam. Guruji, during that fight of Sugriva and Vali, so there is a faith problem inside of Sugriva also.
Correct.
He didn't put faith on. He judged the strength of Vali that he would have been defeated. So there is a problem with Sugriva also, no, Guru. Like
Acha, you should not have fought with him?
no, Guruji. Like he did not have faith that voice was of Rakshasa or Vali. He didn't put faith on Vali.
Right.
Vali
Yeah, correct. Actually, he could have gone inside the cave and checked, but he was afraid also. His brother had kept him outside, so he was standing. When he heard the voice, he misjudged also. Yeah, that is also a misjudgment. Okay, let us assume that Sugriva has misjudged and closed the cave. Now Vali has come back. So what should Vali do? Vali should come out, go straight to palace, and tell his brother who is sitting on the throne, "Hey brother, come here. I want to talk to you. Come to my room, private quarters." I was fighting with Maya. Tell me after that, उसके बाद क्या हुआ बताओ? क्यों तुमने बंद किया बताओ? तुम्हारा क्या इरादा था? What was your plan? कुछ तो होगा. You must be having some plan. Why did you close? Did you really want me to see me die? Then Sugriva would immediately say, brother, what are you talking? I had no such intention. I thought Maya has killed you and he is going to attack me. Therefore I wanted to save my life. And that's what I did. He would have explained to him. Many times, even amongst devotees also, sometimes you ask some questions, the matter gets clarified. Correct, no? See, one boy went to, in one voice only, he went to one preaching coordinator or something like that. And then he told, so-and-so devotee has, made this pamphlet and he has already, they have put up in the college and doing this. So, when he told the PC spoke something, preaching coordinator. And he went and told the devotee that PC ne aapko bol diya, you are a bewakoof, you are foolish. Like that he told him. So later on, that fellow became very offended. How can the preaching coordinator call me foolish? The evening when he came from the college, they both had a big fight. He said, aisa kaisa bolte aapne, main bewakoof. So he said, no, I didn't say you are foolish. I said that the person who has made this pamphlet is made in a foolish way. Because it is very colorful, very nice, but there is no important details are not there. The date of the program is missing. The venue of the program is missing, but they're just putting the pamphlet. People won't even know whom to contact also. So he said the pamphlet is made foolishly. I said, I don't even know who made the pamphlet, he said. So you are able to see the difference? So he is saying the pamphlet is foolishly made, and this boy is going and telling him, he's calling you foolish. So this is how what happens, communication gap happens. So when there is a gap, what you should do? You should remove that gap. How? By by listening to each other, by asking and listening. By asking, if you ask and listen, most of the problems will be solved. Yeah. Like one time, there was one one brahmachari in our temple. I was in a very great mood of starting a corporate department in our temple. So I called him and he sat, and 1 hour I spoke to him. Lot of ideas. It was neither recorded nor did he note down also. That devotee won't speak much. Very few words he will speak. He was just sitting like this, and he's wearing his specs also. Seeing like this, he was watching me. 1 hour I spoke and I was completely exhausted. And then I told him, Prabhu, I was planning to make you the in charge for corporate preaching and do all these things. What do you say? He said, and as soon as I asked him question, he said, Prabhuji, I am already in another department and I am already full swing in my service. And this service is absolutely, it's a Greek and Latin for me. He said, I said, Harry, why you didn't tell in the beginning? You listen so much. Then I realized actually before we speak, we should, we should not pour ghee in ashes. Correct, no? Otherwise it will be like pouring ghee in ashes. It goes in vain. How many of you have a habit of speaking before listening? Honestly, tell me. Only half of you. Very good. Others are good listeners, I think. Yeah. Actually, if you listen well, lot of problems can be solved. That's one lesson we learned from Vali Sugriva episode. Like Lord Ram is very intelligent. When Vibhishan came, Sugriva came running to Ram. Oh Lord, that enemy party fellow has come. That Rakshasa, younger brother of Ravana, has come. And Ram understood that Sugriva is not happy. He asked Sugriva, what do you think we should do? He asked him. Sugriva said, my lord, we should bring him down and kill him on the spot. He said. Ram said, oh, okay, that's a nice idea. Let us also consult with the other monkeys. So he asked others, Neela, Mahinda, all of them he called. Then even our Angada, Hanuman, everybody gave their opinions, different opinions. Lord was very nice listening. And all monkeys became very impatient. They told the Lord, you are asking all of us, but what is your opinion? Lord said, I will tell you. He made them desperate. After all the monkeys roared, now we want your opinion. Finally, Lord told that shloka. See, this is the way the leader is supposed to be. He keeps his ideas reserved and makes everybody speak, and others are exhausted of their ideas. And they ask him, what is your idea? Then he releases his idea after that. So, who is a good listener in this episode? Sri Ram is very great listener. Because he was a great listener, when he gave his idea, everybody accepted that we will accept Vibhishan on our side. Hmm. Yeah. That also an interesting thing. Sugriva was saying we should bring him down and kill him. So Lord asked different monkeys. Other monkeys are afraid to give any idea opposite to Sugriva because the leader of the big boss. How can they oppose? So they were telling, my dear Lord, it's very dangerous to bring that fellow, as our master said. At the same time, if you wish to have him, you can post one spy. Wherever this fellow goes, even if he goes to bathroom, one spy should go with him. Because he may take a mobile and call somebody from there. Somebody should be with him all the time. Like that, some monkey said that. So when Hanuman's turn came, Hanuman said only one thing. My lord, when I flew to Lanka in search of Sita, only in one palace I heard your names being chanted. Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. And that palace was Vibhishan's palace. That's all Hanuman said. He didn't say anything more. He didn't say that this Sugriva is an angry fellow, he's just, making a hasty decision. He doesn't know who Vibhishan is. मैं जानता हूँ, इसको मालूम नहीं है, इसको अकल नहीं है, मुझे अकल है. He didn't say like that. Who? Hanuman. Because he's junior also. He should not cross talk against a senior. But he presented the facts without offending Sugriva. Amazing. Ramayana is very amazing in that sense. Yeah.